Dr. Lechaim with your host, Rabbi Yanni Balmaz. So happy to have you here. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Shelley. Welcome the entire world here. They're actually paying attention. They're pretending they're not. So, remember what I mentioned last time about snow in Winnipeg? How
Still
it's
no snow.
Look, it's gone.
Still no snow.
Look at that, everyone. Not lying.
Not for the next week or two anyway.
But what is it, like minus 11 outside?
It was about minus 11, but,
But
it's
no
really
snow.
Sun, it's really warm, but the wind is really cold.
No
So
snow,
I
it's-
walked this morning. It's really
This is crazy.
getting to be a good winter.
This is crazy. This is not the Winnipeg that I was promised. Somebody promised. It's going to be cold and snowy, and I like that.
Welcome to climate change.
No, I don't. I'm happy with it. Look who is here, Michael Legoff. Welcome, Michael. Welcome to the class. And I say already hello to David and Brenda and to Priscilla Kerr. Are you going to stay with us for a while, Priscilla, or you have patients waiting for you? I don't know. Do you know Priscilla? She's an acupuncturist. She's very good. And so between patients, sometimes she takes the class. Yeah. Eric is here. Welcome.
Where?
You know Eric Tizon.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you
Not
know
the
him.
other Eric. No, I was thinking the other Eric.
And Jay is here. Okay, so what we are going to study this week's Parsha, but it has so many interesting things. Sometimes I never know where to start from with this. The story of the patriarchs is you can go verse by verse, word by word. To start, remember, Shelley, when we used to study the Midrash?
Yes.
Just for you to know, before COVID, Shelley and I, we both bought which Midrash was Midrash Rabbah, and we'll go page by page. You can get stuck one page for 2 hours.
I
With
still
that.
have the bookmark in the last
Yeah.
page we studied.
It was ridiculous.
To be continued.
We used to study so much then, things that I didn't know. So it was, the interesting thing is, I don't know if you've ever been on YouTube, these people that they do reactions. Have you ever seen live reactions? So what they do is, for example, they will take requests from their subscribers for singers. So they just click the link and play the singer right there. And then the whole idea is to see his reaction or her reaction, right? They never played it before.
Right.
My favorite of that is a Portuguese guy, not Jewish, that he did a reaction once for the Miami Boys Choir. There was this song that it went popular. It was Yerushalayim.
Yes.
It went popular in TikTok, like 5 million views in a week, something like that. So, and then from there, what happened in YouTube is once you play on a video, it will suggest other videos. So he became an expert on Jewish singers. And he started to do honest reviews of musical videos of Orthodox Jewish singers or
An
choirs.
influencer is born.
But it's like nothing to do with Judaism. And he became almost like an expert. After a year or so, he knows more than I will know about all the singers out there, all the repertoire they do. He knows which one is live, which one was fixed, and it's amazing. It's I think it's called Portuguese Pie. His thing, and he does reviews of all the singers. Anyway, you can go. So this is what we used to do. We'll open Midrash Rabbah, and it will be like spontaneous reaction to what it says there, without knowing what we're going to find. Sometimes neither Shelley or I could figure out what the Midrash Rabbah was saying. And I said, okay, it beats me.
Until 2 or 3 weeks later when we came across
It beats
something
me.
that said, oh yeah.
Okay, so Brenda, you said, I'm reading Torah this week, first reading. Can you spend a few minutes today defining Dodaim? What context was that? Let me see. I don't want to disappoint Brenda here. I'm going to go to the beginning. If you have the verse, Brenda, I'm very curious now. But it's not on what I have for it's not what I have for you today, guys, that word. So, yeah, sorry. Maybe next time. Next time. Okay? But I will be curious of what verse it is. Okay, so we are going to study this week Parsha, which is Vayetzei. And Vayetzei means that he exit. Let's said in this, there is a very famous song that we sing at the Seder, which is in the Hallel. Vayetzei Israel mi. It's the same word. Vayetzei, let's said, to get out. Okay, so we get Jacob leaving his house to escape from Esau. Technically, he didn't have to, because I guess the agreement was that Esau wouldn't do anything while his father was alive, right? So he didn't have.
Part of a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, he didn't have to leave. The excuse was kind of, I'm not escaping. I'm going to get married.
I'm going for milk.
We know that already Isaac did kind of the same thing, except that he didn't go there. Eliezer went there,
Eliezer went to get
Haran,
to choose a wife
to the land of
for
Haran,
Isaac.
to buy the. So he's gonna go to the same place because I guess they say, hey, mom.
If it was good enough for my father, it's going to be good enough for me.
Yeah, kind of like that. But we know that there was a rebuke in general about the patriarchs and their children not to marry locals in the land of Canaan. We were going to see, I think it's in this parsha, where Isaac is not happy with Esau because of his wives, and he ended up going marry a daughter of Ishmael.
Yeah, that's right. And look what happened.
Implying that Ishmaelites live by a different moral code, that it was not the moral code in the land of Canaan. So Isaac was very unhappy with his wives. We don't know exactly what it is. Maybe they were idolaters, or maybe they were promiscuous. We don't know. But he was not happy. Maybe they were rude to him. We don't know. But Isaac was not happy. Okay? So the excuse was, I'm not leaving because I'm afraid of my brother. I'm leaving because it's time for me to get married. By the way, I was reading something that I mentioned to you guys last week, and some people asked me about the three patriarchs symbolizing different things in Kabbalah. How Isaac was expansion and giving, all the time giving, and Isaac was all the opposite. Was contraction and limits. And we can see that the fact that he didn't leave the land of Israel, he remained within its boundaries, limits. That is another hint of what is Isaac. He was the one that was bound, right? Binding of Isaac. So lots of references of Isaac representing limits. And okay, so there you go. There you go. And then the fact that Jacob represents both, right?
Yes.
Then we have to prove in Kabbalah, but we have to prove that there is a duality in Jacob, right?
Well, that's right. His visions and the ladder.
But he represents the balance between the two. But to be between the two, you need two sides. Guess what? He was a twin. So he was born a duality. So lots of hints that, and Kabbalah will say that the number 3 always includes the 4. Even in the zodiac, the third sign is the twins. The 3 includes the 4. Anyway, okay, so I will bring the text for you, and we are going to study a little bit about Jacob. Okay? Now, very beginning of the Parsha, Brenda, you say, chapter 30, sorry. We are going to study on chapter 28. But if I have time, I'm going to check in a minute. Maybe if I ask a question and people are thinking, I will check, meanwhile, Brenda's question. So, Vayetzei Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana. Okay? So, Jacob departed from Beersheba and went towards Haran. Okay? Anyway, we'll see that the Torah is going to say at the end of previous Parsha We already knew where he was going. We already knew that. So here is kind of a repetition, and every time that there is a repetition, the rabbis will say, well, if the geographical location was giving us in the previous parsha, so this one is trying to bring a different layer. So it's not so much that the Torah, that's what the rabbis say, it's not so much that the Torah is telling us about the geographical location, but what the Torah is implying here is more about the journey itself.
It's a
The
reminder
fact
that
that
there's more to the study.
it is more that it's talking about that he has a special kind of journey.
Yep.
Okay? And that's what we are going to study today about the journey that he has. Okay, so I want to go to the next verse now. After he left, listen to this, verse 11. Vayifga bamakom. He came upon a certain place, makom, place, and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. Okay? Can you imagine that? No. In these days, it will be very difficult for us to imagine that. Very difficult.
He needed a pillow.
Well,
But
there,
the stone has another symbol, another kind of symbolism.
yes, but
And that his journey was not comfortable and his sleep was not comfortable. Because basically putting your head on a stone is not comfortable.
yes, but I saw actually there are some paintings that they were made by famous painters about the dream of Jacob.
That's right.
And then it's interesting the way they are imagining this. It's like the stone is not a small stone that he put under his head.
It's a boulder.
It was like a boulder. Then you kind of lean over, and you sleep almost 45 degrees. It's like in this day we'll be sleeping on your desk, right? Something they imagining something more like that. Then you can put some kind of blanket or something in your head to make it softer, but it's the way you lean on something. Okay, there are different theories about that, but what I wanted to study with you today is this different theories that we are going to see of what this makom, the word makom, means. Okay, and the other thing that is interesting, and is that the rabbis understand that for the language, the way it's presented, that Jacob had the most amazing night sleep, which is very odd considering the uncertainties. Not only that, they are saying that he's going to a place that he didn't know.
He's never been, and he doesn't know anybody, and they don't
He was
know
probably all the things he heard from there, from probably his mother, is careful with Laban. He's a cheater. He's a liar. You know, they're gonna try to take advantage of you. What goes through your mind, right? I've seen people that they can't sleep after they go. You know, if they know that the day after they have a job interview, right? And then they cannot sleep.
Oh yeah, sure.
But again, it's like at a rational level, you will say, yeah, sure, you know, not sleeping won't help you do any better in your interview, right? But we still can't sleep. But it's because of the anxiety of not knowing what is going to happen.
Fear.
I will say that fear is only one of the feelings that we have when we go through uncertainty. And the truth is, life is all uncertainty. What do we know what is going to happen?
It's uncertain.
What do we know, right? But he was able to sleep. He was able to sleep. And he even had a dream, right? And a dream that changed his life.
It changed all of our lives, actually.
Well, but I don't want to go to the dream, and I want to start talking about different opinions. Okay? Bye, Priscilla. Have a wonderful day. So, listen to this. Let's start talking again. Midrash Rabbah, Shelley. Your favorite. It goes like this. Rabbi Pinchas in the name of Rabbi Huna Bar Papa, began his lecture on our verse with the following exposition. And this is something that I explained last week. Every time we read Midrash Rabbah, they always bring some different scripture as an introduction to the topic, like a prelude. It's their method to do it. So the way he did it, Rabbi Pinchas in the name of Rabbi Huna Bar Papa, he started by saying, "Then you will walk safely on your path, and your foot won't stumble. When you lie down, you won't be terrified. You will lie down, and your sleep will be pleasant." And this is from Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 23 and 24. So, in other words, what Rabbi Pinchas in the name of Rabbi Huna Bar Papa is saying is this verse from Proverbs are inspired by the life of Jacob. Okay? Because book of Proverbs, we have to understand that the pure word of God is Genesis to Numbers. Even Deuteronomy is different. It's already Moses' words.
Yes.
Then when you go to other books, they have an author, and we believe that they are divinely inspired, but it was written by a person who was inspired by different stories to write what they wrote. So here we are playing in an educated guess game. What was the inspiration for Solomon to write this? The life of Jacob. Specifically, the episode on this week's parsha. So look at Jacob, how he was able to sleep at night despite all the uncertainty, right? It's because he had this belief. The belief was so strong, right, that the belief that you will walk safely on your path, your foot won't stumble, when you lie down, you won't be terrified, etc.
But for us, the stories are so remote, so far in the back of our history, that we only know them when rabbis talk about them or we read them. But for him, the story was not remote. It was relatively immediate in terms of not that many generations back. So it's like growing up with a story.
I guess. But he didn't have internet.
No, he didn't. Well, we don't know.
Solomon?
We don't know.
Why?
Well,
Well,
God didn't speak to him, but we don't know.
I heard that there were some diggings in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
To see if they had internet, and they couldn't find anything, so they concluded that they had wireless.
This is true.
Yeah. So, back to the verse. It says, "When you will walk, then you will walk safely on your path." Is an allusion to Jacob. At the state, Jacob departed. When you lie down, you won't be terrified from Esau and Laban. Esau at home, Laban waiting for him. He was probably terrified of Laban. We don't know what he was told, but when you don't know the person and somebody start listing all the negative things.
It's like what we call a Baba Meiser.
Well,
his mother told him this, and therefore he believed that it was absolutely true.
But nevertheless, it didn't affect him.
No.
Okay.
But he didn't know that at the time.
And then he said, "You will lie down and your sleep will be pleasant," refers to Jacob, of whom it states, "and he lay down in that place." Okay? So it's fascinating. Now, there is a word in Hebrew that we use when you go through life with that feeling. Okay? It's called bitachon. Have you ever heard the word bitachon? It's protection. It's connected to the concept of emunah, which is faith. Okay? But it's specifically related to developing a feeling of security when you go through life. There are many people that they get anxious leaving the house because, sure, they don't know, There are some people afraid that, who knows, maybe I'm going out and a bus will roll over me. Maybe I will be mugged in the street. And they go like that all day, and then they live up to age 90 nothing happened, right? It's like it reminds me
They live their whole life in fear.
in fear. And so getting out from that feeling is called developing the feeling of bitachon. It's related to emunah, but it's not the same. It's connected because to me, emunah, faith, is the ability of living with uncertainty, knowing that everything is for your very best, even if you don't understand it in this life. Okay?
Yeah.
That is a different feeling that is very difficult to reach that. But Reb Nachman of Breslov will say that there are three levels of emunah.
Yeah.
The basic one is when you one day you can say everything comes from God. Okay? But he would say that's the basic level because you may believe that everything comes from God, but you still believe that some things are bad.
Yes, because we know that.
Well, but that's what he said, that's basic level. Then you say, what some people will go to level 2 when you realize everything comes from God and everything is for the very good. But you say it out of faith. You don't see how. But you trust that everything is for the very good even if you don't understand. Level 3 is when you understand it. And so the way, and that applies only to you. You can never argue that you understand this principle in somebody else's life. This is mostly for you, right? To try to make sense of things that happen to you. And how do you do that? According to Reb Nachman, by talking to God every day.
Yes.
And you know, when some people say, don't waste your time asking God why. Have you ever heard that? Don't ask God why. Reb Nachman will say, no, ask God why. They say, God will tell you what, just not with a voice. But when you start talking to God, they say, you always start sharing with God everything that happens to you. By doing that, you start paying attention of everything that happens to you. Things that sometimes we don't realize that they're around. People that you meet.
Not only that, I'm going to throw Boober at you again sort of. By doing that, you build up a personal relationship with God.
Yeah, but that's the idea.
Well, of course,
That's
that's the
idea.
idea.
That's the idea. But
That's
again, we are talking about a concept that is huge in rabbinic thought, which is bitachon. Bitachon. Having, it's not the certainty, it's having the
Comfort?
the comfort that you're going to be okay.
But that's
Okay.
only when you get to the third degree where you really know or feel that you are having this
Yeah,
relationship.
well, and
the other stages are, maybe it's above the measure, maybe it's not. But by the level 3, you've got this comfortable communication.
But according to Reb Nachman, there are no shortcuts here. You cannot go straight to level 3.
No,
you have to wrestle with every level before you can reach level 3. But everything starts with one day you're able to say everything comes from God.
There are no
That is,
shortcuts in life.
that is the opening. And the other thing that he will say is sometimes people ask, what is faith? How can you define faith quickly? And then he will say that faith is the opposite of certainty.
So even bad stuff is coming from God.
Well,
They say that everything comes from God.
everything, but the thing is, many things we will never realize why it happened in this world. Once we die, first thing we don't have when we die is a body. The body is filtering the way we connect with everything, because the body is bound to time and space. So once we died and we are pure spirit, there is no time and space. Past, present, and future don't exist anymore. So that's when we are going to understand. But that some people can reach the level 3 of Emunah, that they can understand certain things of what the message behind things that happen, right? And it's interesting. Followers of Reb Nachman, they will take every hint and try to understand what is God trying to tell me. Even, I was having this conversation with my wife. We were laughing. although it was kind of, we wanted to cry, but we were laughing, that within a week, right, we have 3 major issues in our house. Like the dishwasher broke and the garage door open broke. Boom, boom, boom. Right?
Yes.
One way of saying is, what's the message? What is God trying to tell you? Right? And then one of the explanations, and I'm just being super brief here, is that sometimes by getting this kind of small punishments,
It's a small message that makes you have to pay attention to
or
your
no,
life,
or is
to what's going on in your
is a
physical
way
surroundings.
is a way to tell you that you're doing great, right? And then there is no carryover to the world to come once you die. You are getting everything, all those little corrections that your soul needs, you're getting it here, right? It's like this little slaps on the wrist.
And
Because,
it's not only that.
and then he
but
said, the rabbis would say, you know, if you're a person who never had never have a problem in your life, you go through life, and life is buttery smooth. You should be shaking, because it means that God would allow you to enjoy every reward for the good things that you did here, and everything else is waiting for you in the world to come. Sometimes things you feel that they are the other way is that sometimes you get in this world all the corrections and all the reward is waiting for you in the world to come.
there's another message there too, Rabbi.
Again, it's super simple. I mean, this is way more complex, but it's the Hasidic belief.
But the flip side, or one of the facets of that message is, if you can handle this, and 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 you get it done, knocks you a little bit off, but you get it done, you can handle anything.
Well, the idea is you should not also...
Don't sweat it.
No. You should not develop a thing, hey, I can handle whatever you send me. Because, and sometimes
That's not
what
I'm
happened,
saying.
and
That's
sometimes
not
what
I'm
happened
saying.
is the
It's a
things that...
these things are a test, I think.
Oh, the test,
These
yeah.
are- these
But
things
that's
are
the
a
other
test.
thing. The-
These things are a test.
And I will repeat a story that I mentioned before about the test and these sufferings that we have. Is this metaphor of a guy who is on the 15th floor, okay, in the balcony, and is trying to get the attention of pedestrians. Because he's stuck there. He wants to get back, but he's stuck there. So start calling people. Nobody stops. Then what he said, I have an idea. I will throw a $20 bill. People will say that it's falling. I mean, money doesn't fall from heaven, right? So they are going to look up and they are going to see that I'm here. So $20 per person, just take it without thinking it twice, put it in the pocket and keep walking. I said, can't be. Try it again. Another person, pick up the money, put it in the floor. He tried many times. Everybody was doing the same. So eventually what he does is he gets a planter, throw it down, it falls into somebody's head, and then the person looks up, starts swearing, right? I said, now you notice I'm here. So it said the metaphor is that's God. First, God tried calling you, right? We don't pay attention. Second, God strike with blessings.
What do I
It
have
gives
to
you,
do to pay attention?
good things.
Over the head.
Do you
Yeah.
thank to God, or you just put in your pocket, keep walking, right? Think that you know that you don't deserve, but you get it. And then third is, okay, here comes the pain. And then people get the pain, start swearing at it. Now you know that I'm here. So sometimes the idea is to start a conversation, God is opening a door to start developing a relationship, okay? But it looks like in this case, Jacob was past that. Jacob already had a relationship with God. How do we know that? As soon as he wakes up from the dream, what does he do? Remember an altar, and he makes a bargain with God. Whatever you give me, I want to give you back
I will return it
10%.
Tenfold.
And that is one of the sources for asking for the tithe. to congregants.
That's the tithe, 10%.
In fact, some people say because the way the Hebrew said eser ta'aser, I think it says.
Yes.
There is a repetition in the Hebrew. So some people understand that it's 10% twice. That's one interpretation of that. Anyway, so let's continue. Okay? So next text here. Now we are going to the Etz Yosef, which is called Rabbi Hanoch Zandel ben Yosef. He says, although Scripture states merely that Jacob departed, the truth is that he was fleeing for his life. Right?
Yeah.
We all know that the whole thing of I'm going to get married was an excuse to get out because
Another God.
he couldn't handle his brother anymore, and he knew that, God forbid, his father is going to die anytime. And then,
the secret will be out. Everybody will know.
yes. So, the Midrash teaches that, even so, Jacob walked securely in the knowledge that God will not allow his enemies to harm him. Why? Because he knew that he had a mission. In other words, it's the feeling that God didn't bring me this far to leave me
Just
alone
to be
now.
slaughtered or murdered or yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jacob was confident of divine protection, that is, bitachon, divine protection, against his enemies, and so had no cause for fear. While he had not even met his future father-in-law Laban, Jacob had heard enough about his deceitful reputation that there will have been grounds for apprehension. The Midrash indicates that when Jacob lay down to sleep on his way to Haran, God granted him a pleasant night's rest. Okay? So in other words here,
The sleep of the just.
but it's a partnership, right? It's almost like having a good night's sleep is also a form of reward.
Yeah. It's God tucking him in and kissing him goodnight.
It's like you do your work, you pray to God, right? Sometimes you need some kind of
Validation.
you need some words of chizuk, as we say, words of strengthening, and somebody will say, you can do it, blah blah blah. That's important.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Very.
But then at the end of the day, God does His part
Gives
to
him
grant
good
you.
night's sleep. It's validation.
So it's like you do the first step, God will come one step towards you. And we see this all over rabbinic thought. This is quite the opposite of what we would expect for those who are being pursued, cannot afford to allow themselves to sleep. That's life. As I said, if you are anxious, you're fearful, you can't sleep. And even when they do sleep upon the hard ground with rocks and pillow, as Jacob did, it is certainly not a pleasant sleep.
It's like Putin, I don't think he sleeps very well at night.
Sorry?
Putin, he's probably got like that club under his pillow just in case somebody comes in his bed.
Yeah,
It's just that personality, right?
I don't know, those guys. He may even sleep at night. He may even sleep. It's terrible. Anyway, let's continue with other things now. This was a story. I will skip the next story. One of the texts in Scripture that reminded me so much about Jacob is the story of Jonah. Let me read it. And we read it every year for Yom Kippur, this one, okay? And one of the reasons why we read it in Yom Kippur is because Jonah's prophecy allowed an entire town to do teshuvah, to repent, which is the topic of Yom Kippur. But there are many other things that applies to the high holidays from the life of Jonah. One of these is developing security in God. Listen to this. Remember, Jonah was told to go to Nineveh. He didn't want to go. So he took a ship in the opposite direction, right? Now he's on the ship. And listen to this. But God cast a mighty wind upon the sea, and such a great tempest came upon the sea that the ship was in danger of breaking up. Remember that? In their fright, their sailor cried out, each to their own god. And they flung the ship's cargo overboard to make it lighter for them. Okay? Jonah, meanwhile, had gone down into the hold of the vessel, where he lay down and fell asleep.
He decided there was nothing for him to worry about.
It's amazing.
Or he's abiding reality. Pick your pick.
Isn't that a story in the New Testament about Jesus the same thing? Same thing.
That's what I just thought.
Yeah. But it's all about when you reach certain level of closeness to God. That's what happens. That you can, when you develop the bitachon, that God is with you, right? And in fact, he says that to the sailors. Listen to this. And in the case of Jonah, I guess at a certain level, he knew that God wouldn't do anything to him because he had a mission to fulfill. So he's fine, right? He was fine, even though it was affecting other people, right? The captain went over to him and cried out, "How can you be sleeping so soundly? Up, call upon your God. Perhaps the God will be kind to us and we will not perish." Okay? So it reminded me the story of Jacob, both involving a journey, both involving lots of uncertainty, and both being able to sleep.
There are many cases within Torah where there's a journey.
Well, but I would say
There's
that
always a journey.
the main what would I say, marker, the main marker, right, with somebody is dealing with anxiety.
Yes.
I can't sleep at night.
So one question I have though is when Yaakov wakes up, like it says, he's shaking, right? He recognizes that God must be here. But he was very different from Esau, right? Because Esau was more macho, more the hunter, and Yaakov was more,
Not an alpha.
yeah. So he couldn't rely on his personal, his physical strength. But I mean, I'm not saying he didn't trust in God, but he was obviously shaken, and all of a sudden becomes aware that God is with him. So was his fear kind of even with him when he was sleeping, and then he comes to that realization?
It's there are two things. This is the way I learned it. Jacob knew that God was with him. One of the things that he wasn't so sure if that God will continue to be with him along the way, because he wasn't sure if he said, "Is God going to be with me if I go to another city?" Maybe they have a different God.
Maybe there's an error, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Stay with him. God
He's
stay with
beyond.
him when he leaves.
Maybe, hey, my father never left the land. Maybe it is because
Maybe I'm not supposed
God
to.
is not outside the boundaries of Canaan, right? I heard the story of Abraham that he came from another place, right? But hey, that was a generation apart. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that he didn't believe that God would be with him. He just didn't have the certainty that he needed. And after the dream, he realized, that's what he said. Yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. There is God in this place, and I didn't know it. Or I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of
But
that.
now I know.
And then the place was Bethel, and that's why you will see that many synagogues around the world are called Bethel. Why? Because of the verse. It says, God is here, right? What better for a synagogue or a house of worship, even churches, that they call it Bethel. Why? Because God is here. That's the reference. So, let's continue with this. You see, the next one, also from Midrash Rabbah, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachman. Now, again, Midrash Rabbah, he's going to start with a verse, okay? Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachman began his lecture with the following exposition from the Psalms, 121 verse 1. A song to the ascent. I rise my eyes to the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from God. But it's a fair question. It's a fair question.
It is a fair question.
Where is my help going to come from? Because as far as I understand, Judaism doesn't say that you're not allowed to be afraid or to have fear. What you're not allowed to is to sit on those feelings. You have to do something to get out of that state of mind.
And you can shake your fist at the sky and you can yell at God too.
Absolutely. In fact, as I mentioned before, God is waiting for because when you swear at God,
Yeah.
you believe that God is listening. And that brings lots of happiness and joy to God, right? There is nothing worse, and you will see that with human relationship, that one of the worst thing in a relationship is when the other person ignores you.
Or doesn't interact. Yes, absolutely. No question.
Right? So, and then the Midrash Rabbah explains that verse. This was spoken by Jacob. They say that verse of the Psalms is, so to speak, spoken by Jacob. I rise my eyes to my mentors, not to the mountains, to my mentors. Why? Here is when you need your Hebrew, because the Psalm said, Shir Ma'alot, Esa Einai Ele Harim, to the mountain, He Harim, but the Midrash read Ha-Horim, which means my mentors. Just change the vowels. That means to my teachers and to my instructors in serving God. Jacob continued, where will my help come from? Okay, so I
there's
ask,
the other analogy.
no, what he say is, I look at my mentors, at my teachers, at my rabbis, and I ask them, where will my help come from? And what is the answer according to the Psalms? Ezri me'im Adonai. The help comes from God. Another thing is, when you're going through difficulties, ask your rabbis, what do you think they're going to say to you? What is your help to come from?
So that's another reason
From God.
that we are discouraged from rabbi shopping.
Yeah, you get your rabbis, yes. Okay, let's continue. It said, now, Midrash Rabbah adds another layer that I want to mention because I think this is hilarious. Okay? This is hilarious. One layer is understanding Ezri mi Adonai, your help, your rabbis will tell you, your help will come from God. But now we know that why was Jacob going to Haran? What was the excuse? To get married. Okay? So when he said Ezri me'im Adonai, Ezri, my help, Ezer means help, but listen to this. Okay? When Eliezer went to bring Rebekah as a wife for Isaac, what is written concerning him? Then the servant took 10 camels of his master's camel and set out with all the bounty of his master in his hand. And Jacob said, hey, but I'm going to get a wife and I have nothing. Okay? But I have with me not a single nose ring or a bracelet. So, what is my help will come from? No, but listen. Listen to this. This is fantastic. Because now we are analyzing the word Ezer. Okay? Rabbi Hanok Zundel ben Yosef, again in Eitz Yosef, said, Jacob was on his way to find a wife and look to the ways of Abraham and Isaac for guidance. Okay? Lehorim. When he did so, he recalled how Eliezer took many camels laden with his master's wealth to bestow upon the girl who would marry Isaac. Jacob, on the other hand, had nothing to his name and feared that his chances of finding a suitable partner were therefore hampered. Hi. Sorry?
I said I'd be back.
Yes, I think they took them all. Sorry.
Try next week.
I can always get another one. Thank you.
All the best. So
We're
it's
actually making calendars this year.
yes, but listen to
Maybe
this.
they'll
Listen to
have
this.
some tonight.
I want to read this, which is fantastic. Okay, Jacob, though they had nothing to his name, and feared that his chances of finding a suitable partner were therefore hampered. So he calls out, "Where will my help come from?" The word for help, Ezri, is an allusion to a wife. Where's my wife coming from? Why Ezri is a wife? Listen to this. For
to help him.
Eve was called Adam's help. Ezer kenegdo. Okay? So where would my Ezer, the way that Eve was Adam's Ezer, where my Ezer come from if I have no money? Right? I think that was actually making him more anxious than anything else.
Probably.
I'm going to get married and I have no money. How am I going to achieve that? How am I going to achieve that? This is not the way society works. Okay? So Jacob was thus asking, without any money, how will I attract a wife? Kudos to him that he went. Actually, he went anyway. You know, because again, is the belief that God will provide.
Also, that's where the concept of the wife as a helpmate comes from.
Yeah, but it's in general. It's also part of bitachon. God will provide along the way. I've seen many people that they go on, the university. They are anxious. How am I going to pay for this? Right? You take a leap of faith.
Something that he knows that he needs.
Yeah.
Like you know that you need the education. You know that he needs a wife. So he has to.
How much
trust in
more
God,
debt
right?
do I have
He
to
doesn't really
incur?
have another option.
No,
So
because-
I've got to trust in God completely.
He needs children to continue with the lineage of Abraham. So this was making it, and then he knew, and then there are many theories. I won't make it more difficult for you guys. How is it possible that he had no money?
Say that again?
How is it possible that he had no money?
Because it's not they release him.
Something
Oh.
will happen.
He wasn't the favorite. He wasn't the favorite son.
Enough of a belief in his chef.
But then you don't have anything to take with you?
He doesn't know what or when or where or how, but it's something.
Not even, I don't know, not even the recipe of the lentil soup that you, nothing. So there are different theories. Number one is Esau refused to let him touch any money because it was all about the inheritance. Number two, he did take money and he was robbed by Esau's guys before that first night. Okay? That's another thing. And there is a theory that Esau actually sent one of his children to kill Jacob. And then what Jacob did, no, actually what Esau's child did was about to say, my father sent me to kill you, but I don't want to kill you because I learned so much from you. What can I do? I have to honor my father, right? But I don't want to do it to you. So I said, Jacob said to Esau's son, hence teaching him once more, he said, if you rob me from everything, it is considered like you killed me. If you take everything that belongs to me. That's what he did. So there is the theory that actually Esau thought all these years that Jacob died. There was no communication, right? Jacob never sent a messenger to him until he was coming back, right? So we never know that. We don't know it. And it's true. Esau may have thought, hey, this guy died. 1 year, 2 years, is dead. Anyway, so now listen to this. I will continue with the concept of getting a mate, if you want. Back to Midrash Rabbah. Rabbi Abahu began his lecture on this passage with the following verse: house and riches are an inheritance from one's ancestors, but a wise wife comes from God. Proverbs 19:14. Okay? Then Midrash Rabbah explains. Sometimes a man goes to find his mate, and sometimes his mate comes to him. In the case of Isaac, his mate came to him. As it states, Isaac went out to supplicate in the field towards the evening, and he raised his eyes and saw, and behold, camels were coming, etc. And Rebekah raised her eyes and saw Isaac. She inclined while upon the camel. Okay? That's option number one. Your mate comes to you. Jacob, on the other hand, went to find his mate, and it's written, Jacob departed. So it's like
He disappeared.
you never know. That's why I say, you know where your inheritance is coming from, right? If your parents have money, eventually that money will come from them to you. That's the way it goes. But a spouse, who knows? For that, you have to place your faith in God to get a proper mate. That's why in the book of Genesis, when God said that took the side of Adam to create Eve, God said, Ezer kenegdo. So basically could translate that Ezer is a helper in front of him, right? But neged, is opposite. It's an opposition, neged. So basically the way the rabbis understand Ezer kenegdo is if God is blessing you with a wife, with a husband, right? It would be an Ezer, a helper. Otherwise, it will make your life impossible. It will be a constant opposition, constant pain in the neck. And it's a reality.
Living hell.
I didn't say it. You did it, Shelley. You did it.
Because you guys don't read the fine print in the contract. The secret to a happy marriage is yes, dear.
Okay. Wow, it's 1 o'clock. But before we leave, I have a joke about bitachon and about wives. So I want to put the two together with a joke. Okay? There was this guy, this marriage. They've been married for 25 years, and every single night, the wife would say to the husband, "I hear noises from the first floor. Please go down and check that everything is okay." And the guy said, "But nothing happened." He said, No, you go and check." And the guy faithfully went down and checked. Then he would come back and reassure her, "There is nothing. Go back to bed." Night after night after night for 25 years. Eventually one night he goes down and there is a robber pointing a gun at him. "Give me all your money." And he gives everything. And then the robber is leaving the house. And then the guy said, "What do you think you're going? You have to come upstairs to meet my wife. She's been waiting for you for 25 years. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Just a quick thing. This class is not going to be restreamed at 8, but at 10 today. Why? Because we have the AGM, Annual General Meeting. So we don't want any overlap. Okay, so we are, just to be safe, I'm going to restream it at 10 in case you miss anything, so you can catch it again, okay?
10.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning in. 10 p.m. is going to be the rebroadcast. Remember, this Saturday we have the Serenity Shabbat. Beautiful initiative. You can check our website for all the details. And stay safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.